Thank you for joining me on the show. Firstly, I want to ask you, how would you describe the Prime Minister's response to this massacre?
Well, he's obviously deeply concerned about his political position. I would say he's panicking because, there's no doubt about it. Labor has taken a very hard line against Israel since the 7th of October 2023. They've been very weak on anti-Semitism. They have done nothing about Islamic extremists who have been leading a lot of the demonstrations against Israel and ultimately against Jews. So he obviously feels this is going to do him huge political damage, and he's starting to panic. He came up with a cunning plan to blame the gun laws and say we need tighter gun laws. This isn't about gun laws, by the way. This is about anti-Semitism. I think it's very, very damaging to the Prime Minister. I don't actually think his reputation as a decent Prime Minister will recover from this.
No, he's been missing in action for 2 years, but even after the massacre, even now, he has just missed this moment. He hasn't been to any of the funerals. He was asked about it today and he said, I'll go if I'm invited. He hasn't been back to the memorial in Bondi since Monday morning. And here is his response when asked about that. Have a listen.
I have done that. I haven't just been down in Bondi on Monday morning when at what is now the large memorial. Very early on, I met with police. I've met with members of the community. I've been to homes in Bondi.
Alexander, I think he knows he's going to get a poor reception, so he's hiding. But you know very well that when John Howard implemented the gun laws after Port Arthur, he went out there, he faced his critics, he went out to the farmers because that's what leaders do. Should the Prime Minister be going back to Bondi?
He should be going and explaining the government's position to the Jewish community. And explain why the government has not been more robust in dealing with anti-Semitism. And he should explain to the Australian public why on his watch, Australia's traditional liberalism, that with a small L, a liberal society, a multiracial, multicultural society has been shattered by these events. But, of course, the shattering has been building since the 7th of October 2023. So for over 2 years, there has just been a creeping problem, week in, week out, and a month in and month out. And the attitude of the Labor Party has been, well, sure, we're not in favour of anti-Semitism. Of course they're not. But let's not go too hard on the mosques and the imams who are preaching hate, because that might cost us votes within Labor Party electorates. Those votes may hemorrhage to the Greens. All members of the Labor Party now get a vote for the leadership. And, we don't have the details of who the members are, but some of those people could be members of the Labor Party. The thing about Anthony Albanese as a Prime Minister, and I've seen and known many Prime Ministers of Australia, he is the one who never stops playing politics. Everything is about playing politics. There's nothing more serious than playing politics. Well, frankly, I think this event and his reaction to it has exposed the true Anthony Albanese.
Absolutely. Look, it's all about optics. And again, that's why I think that he hasn't gone back to Bondi, because he doesn't want this to be his I don't hold a hose moment. I just want to ask you, because you mentioned there, the mosques, and we're talking about radical Islam. The Prime Minister's out, as we said, blaming gun laws. He's looking to amp up hate speech laws. But at the fundamental heart of this is radical Islam. What needs to be done, in your view, to get to the bottom of this?
Well, I think the laws are there already, and the police need to implement the laws, and they need leadership. They need leadership from the Prime Minister and the government. They need to make it clear to the state governments, of course, responsible for the state police, that as a nation, we will implement laws against people inciting violence. Now, having a big demonstration across Sydney Harbour Bridge or in front of the Opera House or, the Story Bridge or wherever it may be in Brisbane, having a big demonstration and calling for the globalisation of the Intifada is calling for the killing of Jews. I mean, that is completely unacceptable. It is completely illegal to go around calling for the execution of people, for the killing of people. But we haven't been implementing the laws we already have. I mean, there are politicians, Labor politicians, going around saying we need new laws. We already have laws. We need to implement the laws, and they need to show a lot more leadership than they've shown.
Look, absolutely. And I know the UK has now implemented they'll arrest people who do chant globalise the Intifada. So let's see if we follow suit. Alexander Dowd, I've got to leave it there. Thanks very much for joining me on the program.